28th at 4:15. So we'll see about that. So talk to Kate so we can talk to the two of you together. All right. What we're doing now, we're on the agenda, which is on for class 6. Let me show you where I'm at. I went to modulars over here. Then I went to action research class, October 20th, 2021. The first one is the agenda for tonight. And the second one is a research. We just need to remember that these are the guidelines we need to follow. So let's check on that one. I'm sure you already know these, but it's always good to review. The first thing you want to do, of course, is describe your overall problem and why it's important. Why it's important. It may be pie in the sky. I'm going to teach 100 children to read, but whatever you think of, why is this an important thing? Why is your research a problem? Why is it solving something? For example, as an upper elementary teacher, I have students every year who cannot read at or even near grade level. Often these students cannot sound out or chunk unknown words. Students must be able to read fluently. So that's her problem. That's why it's important to this teacher that did that one. So in just a little few paragraphs or a paragraph, describe your overall problem and why it's important. Second, what's the purpose? Why are you doing it? And what are the theories behind it? What are the theories? This teacher was very honest and said, I don't have much specific research to cite yet. But the research I found indicates that phonics is an important but not the only part of being a reader. You may find tons and tons of research, or maybe you won't find very much at all. Maybe yours is a new area that there's not too much out there, so don't worry about it. On a professional research, you'd have to have at least anywhere from 50 to 100 sources. You do not have to do that on yours. We just want you to realize that somebody else has probably done this before you did. So look and see if you can find if they were for it or against it. Like Benjamin Bloom, when he came out with his knowledge and understanding and then comprehension and then analysis and synthesis, evaluation, he thought he was the only person that had ever thought of those things. And Stephen Kagan came along and said, I've been working on them for years, but I call them a different name. So I think you'll find people doing research out there on the same thing you are or have done, and you can use and use them as a guide. Then you want to summarize in just a very short declarative sentence. You're teaching your students right now to make declarative statements. You need to make one declarative sentence. For example, struggling readers will be able to read more fluently, speed and accuracy, after receiving systematic phonics instruction. That was her big statement. So you want to summarize. One of the worst things, and you probably have noticed this as you do your research and you're reading other people's research, is that people are too wordy. They say the same thing in 10 ways instead of simplifying. Remember, I told you there's a book called Simplify It. If you can say it in one word, then you don't need a sentence. If you can say it in one sentence, you don't need a paragraph. If you can say it in a paragraph, you don't need a whole page. If you can say it on a whole page, you don't need a whole book. So if you can simplify your words, think about the choice, the right word that means just exactly what you want it to say. They say people beat around the bush. They try to say it 2 or 3 different ways. You're just too wordy, and people quit reading it. See if you can say in one sentence what your big research question or questions are. Just one sentence. And then, what method did you use? What method did you use? How did you collect data? What did you collect? How did you do it? Where did you save it? How did you make sure it was secure? How did you make sure, just what did you do to collect data? I read, or I tested, or I talked, or what did I do? And then, what assessments did I use? And she put down what she used, the Dibbles. She used pre and post measurements. Look and see about the social change factor. What's this going to do to help your school environment, help the school, help the teacher environment, help students? What's the social change? What will they experience? They'll be more willing to read. The social change is getting to be more and more important, especially with the COVID right now. If you've been reading a lot of the articles, you've seen that the social emotional learning is very prevalent right now. They're giving up, they're discouraged, it's hard. So what social change will it do in your classroom? If my research goes through and I help this student to read, what change is that am I hoping in that student? More better attendance. Melissa talked about attendance. We're really fighting attendance out here. Our high school says he goes uptown and tries to find them. They're everywhere because they don't want to go to school. They're used to being home, doing what they want, not coming and go to school every hour and do things. So what's the social? Be sure you have approval. Ask your principal if it's okay, or whoever you need to ask. You cannot say these children are the redbirds and these are the bluebirds, and I'm not going to teach the bluebirds at all. I'm only going to teach the redbirds. You can't do that thing. You have to have approval, especially on human subjects. I can't teach the girls to skip and the boys, they have to just sit in their chair. You can't discriminate. You have to have approval. That's a big thing when you're doing professional research. Not as big with you, but you do have to have, if parents need to know or the principal needs to know that I'm just trying this out, this method out, or this research, and trying to see if I can help that by doing a word wall. What approval do I need? And then, how am I going to implement it? Now, maybe you won't even get to that point. Maybe you won't get the chance. You'll say, this is what I hope to do. Like Rhonda's doing a whole thing on what literacy is in her district. I mean, a whole statement. And maybe it'll take years to get it all done. Rhonda, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you might say, this year, I'll simply present my facts. Next year, I'll try to get them to adopt one. I mean, just be realistic. You're not going to be judged on the fact that you didn't complete everything on your program. You didn't make everybody a reader. You didn't make everybody love what you're doing. But how do you hope to implement it? You write a big major plan and then you show them the importance of it. Or I do it part at a time. What am I going to do? How am I going to implement it? How am I going to present it? Am I going to have a PowerPoint? Am I going to have a meeting? Am I going to just post it? Am I going to tell people about it? What am I going to do? And can parents know about it? And then a conclusion. And then in the conclusion, what did you learn? What did you learn about yourself as a scholar and a researcher? I really like doing this, or this was too hard for me. I'd rather do hands-on more than do research. Just what did you learn about yourself? That's a really good guide there, and I know you've seen it before, but maybe you haven't reviewed it lately. Comments or questions about it? Let's just go to the next one and just show you what's here again. These are the ones called the steps. This is a simple way to write it. It simply tells you step by step what to do. You saw that back in the very first class. A simple way to do those steps that we just talked about. So you could use that to summarize right there. So that's just the next handout. The next one is the National Reading Panel. It was on the handouts for last time, but we didn't emphasize it. So I'd like to emphasize it that this was a groundbreaking one. If you follow their example, you can't go wrong. I mean, they did it completely right. You may or may not agree with their findings, but they followed the right steps. They put down who's on the panel, then a table of contents. They told about what methods they were using. They told about what they hoped to find by areas. They looked at phonics and fluency and comprehension. They looked at it all. You don't need to be that broad. And then they put down their next steps, their reflections, what did I learn? And then when you have time, read it over, because it is very, very good. It's an excellent result, excellent professional research. And you might learn a lot from it, but it's very, very wordy too. I would cut a lot of it out. The next one is just simply another handout, it's another way to say what we've just been talking about. What's your problem? What's your basic problem? What would it look like if it was developing, if it was already proficient, and if it was strong? What would it look like if your problem was solved? What's your theories? It's just another way to tell you how important each part is. Here's another way to do it. Some of you might like to do it like this. Ask you questions, and you just fill in the blanks. What was your performance target? What did you hope to do? What accomplishment? Did you hope for improved climate, or morale, or collaboration, improved behavior, reading phonics? What did you hope for? It just makes you pin yourself down so that you don't wander into many, 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 many areas. You stick with the area that you're really looking at. What change did you hope to see? What did you see? So that's just another simple way to keep you on task and keep you focused and not wordy. As you work with people, you will find some are difficult and some are not difficult. Some want to work with you and some don't want to work with you. Some think it's a waste of time, or they know the answers, or they just don't want to get involved. So what are you going to do? If you have these goals, what are you going to do? And it goes down through the chart of how to work with difficult teachers, especially if you're a literacy coach, or you're just doing research and you're working with your grade level, or you're working with parents, or you're working with the whole district, or whatever you're working with. You're going to find difficult people. And it kind of gives you a way to work through it so that you don't lose your temper. And the next one is the same thing. How do you respond to them? When they say, sorry, I just don't have time to do this, then realize maybe they really don't have time. And so you say, well, I understand. When's a good time to come back and talk to you? You know how to do this. I mean, you as teachers, you're wonderful to get along with people. But here you are, you're trying to get your research done. You've got a lot of things to do. You've got classes to do and kids to do. And sometimes we get, short, or we don't handle it like we'd like to handle it. These are just some prompts in case you do meet people that aren't. So if you decide you want to be a literacy coach, and really that's what you are right now, because you're doing research, you're showing them how to tackle a problem so that they can do it in their own classroom. The literacy coach doesn't have to be the one that goes from district and all over your district, from room to room and class to class and school to school. You actually are coaching right now because you're teaching yourself or others how to identify a problem and how to do research to solve it. So what do coaches do? And the last one is what they don't do. And I have seen this a lot as I go around and help the students. They try to supervise and tell everybody, what they must do. They get negative about it. They supervise. And they judge. Well, I'm not going to work with that one. She's too hard to work with, or he's too hard to work with. Or they don't observe teaching. They don't give the people credit for what they're doing. They try to be the big expert. You don't provide some pull-out services sometimes. There's just some things there that you can do and not do to get along with your groups. Okay, I have a book here I'd like to show you. Let me change over to this one. This is another very simple book too. This is a lady that started doing research just like you are in a class and found out she couldn't work with any of her workers. They just wouldn't work with her. And she thought I was coming on too strong, or I don't know what I did wrong. So she wrote a primer. A primer is what you first start with, like Dick and Jane, when you're first learning to read, you start with these little primers. She said, I needed a primer, a simple, simple way to understand it, evaluate, and then use it. So talk to people in your classes and say, what can I do to help you, and what can you do to help me? And can we work together? And just determine you are a primer. You're doing this for the first time now. You may go on and work on other committees. You may go on and be a professional researcher someday. But really, you're starting at the beginning, just like beginning reading, you're starting beginning research. And I hope you're finding that some of it out there is good, and some of it out there is terrible. It's their point of view, and they're going to convince you that this is the only way to be, and you know better or assume better or want to know why it's the best way. Like letters came out right now. Some people adopted it and love it. Some are saying it's too pushy for them. They don't want it. So everybody's going to have something they like and something they don't like. So just take it easy on them. But the best thing you can do is this book. Stop leading them and start building. Say, I'm not here to be the big expert. I have just identified a problem in my mind, and I'm going to try to help our building. Turn your school into a success story with the people and the resources that you already have. You might go to the 6th grade teacher and say, I like the way you do this and that. Tell me about it so I can put it in my research. How do you do this? Lead. Be the one that knows what they're doing, complimenting. This is what Chris is doing right now with her school. Remember, she told you that it's some of the lowest one in the district, has been for years, and they've had some people leave, some principals leave. They have the farming community. The children are sometimes drawn out to their attendance and so forth. So she's not being the big leader over there in that school. She's trying to build them that we're in this thing together. We've got to work together. I wish she was here to tell you this. I don't know where she is. I can't imagine. I'm going to call her on the break and see if I can find her. But this is a great book for just getting along with people. And if you're a researcher and you have some great ideas and you write up this wonderful, great research project and then stick it in the closet because nobody will help you, then you've kind of wasted your time or something. You want people to buy into what you're doing because you're working hard and you need this cooperation. The newest book that's out there right now is this one. And it's called We Belong. 50 Strategies to Create Community and Revolutionize Classroom Management. This lady started with doing a research project. And she found out her school was not a real community. It was like the first grade teachers against the 6th grade teacher. The 6th grade knew more. There just wasn't a sense of community. They were having problems, a lot of different problems, couldn't figure out why. So she started by first building a community, trying to identify why we can't work together. Why do our PLC meetings turn into an argument, or I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to do it your way? What happened? Why can't we work together? And then she went on to see it went into classroom management. They were burned out, a lot of them. So she didn't mean to go into that one. She went into just, how do I create a community in my school so that people get along and help each other? We're all trying to teach children. We're all trying to work together. But why is it so difficult? And so then she ended up looking into classroom management. Okay, it's 5:20. Let's take a break for 10 minutes. And then I'll see if I can get a hold of Chris, because she had some wonderful training she wanted to tell you about. And then we'll come back and ask you, one by one, to please give us an idea of your successes, the things that you're finding are harder than you expected, just your progress. So you be thinking about that. Let's take a little break, and I'll see if I can get a hold of Chris. Any comments or questions? Okay, see you in 10 minutes. I found your email, Kate. Thank you.
Did you find the second email that said disregard the first email? Because I could
Yes,
finally put in.
I got all three of them. I got all three of them.
Thanks.
Hello there again.
Hey, Louise.
Yes, sir.
Will 4 o'clock on the 9th work for you?
Anything works for me. I can work my time around it, yes.
Okay.
That's the nice thing about being retired and only having 8 jobs instead of 13 jobs, Rowdy. One of these days, I'm going to retire. I don't know when.
It's a trap, I've heard.
Guess how long I've been teaching, Rowdy?
40-something years.
What?
40-something years.
How about since 1960?
Wow.
Yeah, I love it. I love helping teachers, and I love working with teachers. So you've got a long way to go, and you'll be good at it. Okay, I'll see if I get a hold of Chris.
Okay.
Anybody have any concerns while we're taking a break? I'm here to talk if you. I can't find Chris. I hope she's okay.
Louise, just to clarify, this is Lauren. My time to Zoom with you is on the 8th, correct?
Let me look and see. Lauren? Let me find. Yes, November the 8th at 3:35. Is that okay?
Yes, I was just writing it down in my planner so I didn't forget, but I just wanted to double check.
That's a great idea. I'm going to take a minute and write it down too.
Okay, thank you.
Hmm?